Oh, welcome back to Joe's Son of Boxing. It's a cold one again. One of my subscribers said his nan had called and she wants her dressing gown back. Well, she's not having it. She's not having it. And if she wants to come and have a go, if she thinks she's hard enough, she'd probably beat the crap out of me. Anyway, let's talk about Ben Shalom and BOXXER. Because there's no doubt that Ben Shalom, in the last year or whatever, has been considered the sort of runt of the litter when it comes to promoters. But he's finally got his foot in the door with the Riyadh season, which is where all the money is, of course, with our friend, the excellent Turkey, chucking his money around. We saw Tyler Denny on the last card get smashed to bits, unfortunately, by Hamza Shiraz. I say unfortunately, not because I've got anything against Shiraz. I think he's a terrific prospect. But I like Tyler Denny. He came up the tough way. He was briefly the EBU champ, lost to Shiraz, who took the belt. But, Tyler Denny is a good, honest, blue-collar pro who deserves, I think, a lot of respect. And it was a little bit sad to see him go out in just 2 rounds. But hopefully he got a very good payday. And there's no reason why he can't, maybe drop back down to British level. He's a very good fighter. But he's got some good scalps on his record, Tyler Denny. So that's one BOXXER fighter who, got a slice of the Riyadh cake and was, navigated to that EBU title by BOXXER. I think BOXXER actually did a good job with him. Because there were a few fights he was expected to lose and he didn't. So that was decent. Joshua Buatsi beat Willie Hutchinson. That was Buatsi is a BOXXER fighter. The Willie Hutchinson fight was a good result. And all credit to Hutchinson for hanging tough. Went down a couple of times from serious body punches, which are agony to get up from, and went the distance. So Hutchinson, he can come again. He's young enough. But it was a good performance by Buatsi. Should he have stopped him? Stopped Hutchinson? Maybe. But the thing about Buatsi is, the age, I thought he was about 34. He isn't. He's I think he's 31, 32. So he's still got a bit of time. But you would have thought that considering he was an Olympic bronze medalist and has been a pro for quite a few years now, that even though he picked up an interim belt against Hutchinson, you would have thought he would have been in that light heavy mix a bit sooner. Now, I understand that we've got Bivol versus Beterbiev coming up, which is a fantastic fight. Might end up being the fight of the year in terms of importance because it's an undisputed light heavyweight title fight. I'm trying to think of the last time there was an undisputed light heavyweight champion. For whatever reason, Michael Spinks rings a bell. But was there anyone after that? I don't even know. I'd have to check on that. Buatsi, he's still in the mix. He's got that belt now, which is good. And because of Bivol and Beterbiev, they're sort of on their own level, if you know what I mean. They've got their own little platform. Everyone else is sort of scattering around, scurrying around, looking for belts that can maybe give them an inside track to facing the winner of that fight. There's always the chance, of course, once unified, once either Bivol or Beterbiev becomes undisputed, that 1 or 2 of the belts could get lost. Like the IBF might. They're very strict with their mandatories, and the winner might choose not to face the mandatory. You know what it's like. It's the politics of it all. It's frustrating at times, but there we are. So Buatsi's okay. Now we've got another Riyadh season card coming up, and BOXXER have Fraser Clark in the rematch against Fabio Wardley. Wardley is now signed with Queensbury, which is very good for him. I'm sure they offered him a very good deal. Queensbury are sort of hoovering up all the heavyweights. If you look at their heavyweight roster, it's very impressive when Wardley was added to it. Fraser Clark, Olympic gold medalist. fantastic fight, the first one. The first one was a draw, but it was a great fight. And if Fraser beats Wardley, then I think he, I wouldn't say he becomes a major heavyweight player, but it's definitely a jump up the ladder for him to the point where he'll have the British title. He'll be able I thought Fraser Clarke was probably the British title might be his ceiling, but he showed me something against Wardley, I thought, because don't forget he was flawed. He got up and he actually came back well. I think he answered some questions there. I would say that European level, he should go for the European level. I think he needs to avoid someone like Moses Atama, because stylistically, I think Atama might knock Fraser flat. Although, I say that, but he's still very green, Moses. He's a precocious talent, but that doesn't mean you just throw people in at the deep end. I hate that idea. You've got to bring them on slowly. You know what I mean? You mustn't jump up too many quantum leaps, because potential is fantastic. To have a lot of potential is brilliant, but the experience needed, sort of knowing what it's like to be in a firefight, knowing what it's like to be hit hard, knowing what it's like to have to dig deep. Those are all qualities that you've got to at least hint at before you jump up to world level. And all this stuff about Atama beating Mike Tyson's record, I don't care about that. I just couldn't give a shit about that. But anyway, when we're talking about getting back to Fraser Clarke, I think if he beats Wardley, that will definitely be a big step up. In terms of his public perception as well, people will want to see him more. So I think his economic value, if you like, will increase as well. So that's one. And then, of course, we've got Chris Eubank, who was signed to BOXXER, and the infamous Chris Eubank, Chris Scumbags Eubank Jr. He's facing Zerameta. Zerameta's seen better days. Eubank has been off for a year, and he says this is an ideal opponent to come back and fight. Yeah, that's fair enough. You've been off for a while. That's not a bad opponent, but I fully expect Eubank to deal with Zerameta, possibly on points, I think. But he could stop him. But Chris, when he's on it, he shows flashes of, in a sense, what might have been if his career had gone better. But Chris is a money man. He wants the money. He regards boxing as prize fighting. I don't think he's that bothered about world titles. He's got that Derek Chisora mentality. Give me the money. Fair enough. If you get in the ring, you deserve to be paid well. I don't dispute that at all. But so the point I'm making here with all this is that BOXXER, even though it appeared that BOXXER were doing dreadful with their output on Sky, and I mean, they've got other people like Caroline Dubois is a BOXXER fighter. I think she's excellent. They've got the two Olympian females, Karis Artinstall, Lauren Price. They're both good fighters. I think one of them got the British title, who's got a belt. But boxers seem to be sort of drowning maybe a year ago, and there have been a few sort of shoots of recovery. And I suppose you could say it's because of their sudden involvement in the Riyadh season. At least they suddenly seem to be not taking centre stage, but at least there is some sort of semblance of where they're going. And there was a lot of speculation, including, I thought this as well, regarding whether the contract would be extended with Sky. I think it probably will be. If it hasn't already. I don't know. I think there's a little bit of time left on the original contract, but I think Sky will stick with Shalom. I thought for a while they might get rid of him and bring in GBM, Izzy Azif's team, because they've got close connections, GBM, with Adam Smith. But no, I think the GBM went to DAZN. I think they've got a contract with DAZN. But I think Sky will stick with Shalom. They've also invested a lot of money in working with Shalom already. So whereas they don't want to be throwing, good money after bad, at the same time, I think there's been enough of a recovery, not a great recovery, but enough hints of what could be for Sky to say, do you know what? we'll stick with Ben. We'll stick with BOXXER, and we'll see what what happens. We'll give him another couple of years or whatever, because there's no doubt that BOXXER, they do have some good fighters on their roster. I mean, Chris Billam-Smith has got a unification against Zurdo Ramirez. That's a terrific fight. And Chris Billam-Smith, I think, is probably BOXXER's biggest success story. He's done fantastically well. Not many people picked him to beat Akoli. He did beat him convincingly. And last time out, he beat Richard Riakporhe, and a lot of people picked Riakporhe to win what was a rematch. In fact, he was dominated by Chris Billam-Smith. I'm almost tempted to say he's overachieved. He probably has overachieved. So that's a success story. And if mentioning Riakporhe, Ben Shalom was interviewed recently, and Riakporhe's name inevitably came up, as did Akoli's. And Shalom was saying, well, how about Akoli versus Riakporhe at bridgerweight or heavyweight? I think bridgerweight. I mean, the bridgerweight title, WBC bridgerweight title, is held by Akoli, who had that one-round blowout in Poland. And also there is some beef between them. I think that could be sold as a good fight, regardless of the title. It can be sold for a world title, bridgerweight world title. Everyone is like, bridgerweight, who cares? But then I'm old enough to remember when cruiserweight came along and people were like, who cares about cruiserweight? What the hell is a cruiserweight? What's all that rubbish about? And super middleweight, no, what's all that? A load of rubbish. Murray Sutherland, first super middleweight champ, was he? Murray Sutherland, he was certainly one of the early ones. So I think that fight could be sold as, and if they'll get into it verbally, but it's up to Shalom to show that he is a promoter, right? He's a promoter. That is to say, he's like Eddie Hearn. Whatever you think of Eddie Hearn, he is a very good promoter. He's mouthy and he's got that whole Essex boy patter and all this, but it sells fights. He's very, very good at trumpeting his fighters and his quote unquote product. Now if Shalom needs to do that, he's not as charismatic as Hearn. He's not. I mean, he's an articulate guy, no doubt about it. But he doesn't have that, zest and verve, and he doesn't get the bit between his teeth. He tries to play the whole sort of corporate politeness, whereas Hearn, even though he's completely a corporate guy, he will sell fights, definitely. He's very, very good at that. So I definitely think Akoli versus Riakporhe. I'd like to see that fight. I know Akoli is duller than ditchwater, but Christ Almighty, I mean, he's been in some stinkers. But him against Riakporhe, the build-up might be better than the fight, but I think that would be worth watching. So there are, like again, I say, there are positives with BOXXER that one wasn't seeing like a year ago, and I think that Shalom has just about held his head above the waterline with regard to his promotional outfit and the relationship with Sky. I think they'll stick with him, but it remains to be seen. Of course, something in boxing, anything can happen, and it can happen very quickly often. Don't forget, Shalom is very young promoter, so it was always going to be a learning curve. Always going to be a learning curve with the Sky deal. They took a real chance with him because he sort of came from almost nowhere. So yeah, I mean, what do you think? What do you think about BOXXER? What do you think about Sky? I don't subscribe to Sky, and the product isn't good enough for me to want to subscribe to Sky. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. Do you subscribe to Sky? What do you think of Shalom as a promoter? What do you think of BOXXER's output? Do you think it's good enough? Do you think it will improve? Are you sick of BOXXER? Do you want them out? Yeah, they are kind of the runt of the litter. Do you remember, with the Bivol versus Beterbiev press conference, the one where Eubank said his piece? Shalom was sort of tucked on the next row back in the corner. I couldn't even see him on the screen. That seems to have been where him and BOXXER have been. But are they going to improve? Let me know what you think. Comments below, of course, as always. Appreciate your time. If you could subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you liked the video. I hope you liked it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading what you've got to say. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a good day, and I'll get you later. Bye for now.